You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, you're reaching for your phone. You tell yourself it's just to check the time. But 20 minutes later, you're still lying there, scrolling through content you don't even care about. That isn't a bad habit. That is a chemical dependency playing out in real time. Here's what your screen is actually doing to your brain. The infinite scroll. The infinite scroll was designed with one specific biological vulnerability in mind. Your brain's foraging instinct. Humans evolved to constantly search for resources: food, water, information. When we find something valuable, we get a hit of dopamine. That hit says, keep looking, there might be more. The infinite scroll digitizes that exact survival mechanism. You swipe up, you get a piece of content, you laugh. Dopamine hits, you swipe again. Nothing interesting, you swipe again. Another hit. There is no bottom. There is no stopping point. In the past, newspapers had a final page. TV shows had ending credits. Your brain received a clear signal to stop. That signal has been erased. The infinite scroll bypasses your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control. You aren't choosing to keep scrolling. Your brain is trapped in a foraging loop, hunting for a resource that doesn't exist. Here's the trap. You think you are consuming content. The content is actually consuming your time, your energy, and your autonomy. You are running on a digital treadmill that has no off switch. The screen isn't holding your attention, it's holding you hostage. Variable reward. If you pull a lever and get a prize every single time, you eventually get bored and walk away. If you pull a lever and get nothing, you also walk away. But if you pull a lever and get a prize sometimes, and nothing other times, you will pull that lever until you collapse. That is a variable ratio reward schedule. It is the exact psychology used in slot machines. And it is the exact psychology used in your notifications. You hear a chime, you don't know what it is. It could be a message from a friend, it could be a spam email, it could be a like on a photo. The uncertainty is the point. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it is about anticipation. Your dopamine spikes the highest right before you look at the screen. Over time, your brain associates the physical phone with the anticipation of a reward. You reach for it when you're stressed. You reach for it when you're sad. You reach for it when you're just standing in an elevator for 10 seconds. Here's the messed up part. You aren't addicted to the notifications. You are addicted to the anticipation of what the notification might be. You are carrying a casino in your pocket, and you are playing the slots every time you unlock the screen. Context switching. Short-form video platforms don't just hold your attention, they shatter it. You watch a 10-second video of someone crying. You swipe. The next video is a comedian making a joke. You swipe. The next is a political outrage clip. You are forcing your brain to process profound grief, humor, and rage in a 30-second window. Humans are not neurologically equipped for this kind of emotional whiplash. Every time you switch contexts, your brain burns glucose. It takes energy to recalibrate your emotions to match the new stimulus. When you do this hundreds of times in a single hour, your brain reaches cognitive exhaustion. You feel drained, tired, and completely unmotivated, even though you haven't moved from the couch. That is context switching fatigue. Your brain is working overtime to process a flood of contradictory emotional signals. Here's the thing. People think short-form content is relaxing because it requires no physical effort. But neurologically, it is the equivalent of sprinting in 10 different directions at once. You don't feel rested after scrolling. You feel hollow. The platform gives you 1,000 different feelings in an hour and leaves you too exhausted to feel anything real in your actual life. The phantom vibration. You feel your phone buzz in your pocket. You reach down, you pull it out. The screen is blank. Nothing happened. You just experience phantom vibration syndrome. It sounds like a mild modern inconvenience. It is actually a sign of deep neurological rewiring. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for threats and rewards. Because you check your phone so obsessively, your brain has categorized the physical sensation of your phone buzzing as a high-priority survival signal. It is so desperate for the dopamine hit of a notification that it begins hallucinating the physical sensation. Your nervous system is literally misinterpreting the friction of your clothing as a digital alert. This is how deeply the technology has infiltrated your biology. You are no longer just interacting with a tool. The tool has altered your sensory perception. Most people brush it off with a laugh. They shouldn't. If a drug caused you to experience physical hallucinations when you weren't taking it, you would check into rehab. The phantom vibration is your nervous system telling you it is permanently on edge. The phone doesn't even have to ring for it to control your body. The baseline shift. Dopamine is not a limitless resource. You have a baseline level. When you do something highly stimulating, like scrolling through a hyper-curated feed of perfect bodies and viral stunts, your dopamine spikes massively above baseline. But what goes up must come down. When you finally put the phone away, your dopamine doesn't just return to normal, it drops below the baseline. You enter a state of dopamine deficit. This deficit feels like boredom, apathy, and mild depression. Nothing in the real world feels interesting. Reading a book feels impossibly slow. Talking to a friend feels understimulating. Doing your work feels like physical torture. Your brain is comparing the slow, quiet reality of everyday life to the hyper-stimulating artificial world of the screen. Reality cannot compete. This is why you feel the urge to pick the phone right back up. You aren't doing it to feel good. You are doing it to escape the discomfort of the deficit. Here's the trap. The more you spike your dopamine with the screen, the deeper the deficit becomes when you put it down. You eventually reach a point where you need the screen just to feel normal. The tool you use to cure your boredom is the exact thing destroying your ability to be interested in your own life. The attention span. You sit down to watch a movie. 15 minutes in, you pull out your phone. You can't just watch one screen anymore. You need two. You tell yourself you are just multitasking. You are actually dealing with an atrophied attention span. Attention is a muscle. If you don't use it, it degrades. By constantly feeding your brain content in 15-second increments, you have trained it to expect a new stimulus every 15 seconds. When the movie doesn't deliver a dopamine spike fast enough, your brain panics. It demands the missing stimulation, so you reach for the phone to bridge the gap. You are fracturing your attention, dividing it into smaller and smaller pieces until you can no longer sustain focus on a single continuous thought. This doesn't just ruin movies. It ruins conversations. It ruins deep work. It ruins your ability to sit silently with your own thoughts. People think they are losing their attention spans because the world is getting faster. The world isn't faster. You are just refusing to tolerate the quiet. You are trading your ability to think deeply for the temporary comfort of cheap distraction. The escape. People spend years wondering why they feel so disconnected. They try new diets, they buy supplements, they go to therapy. They try to figure out why they are so exhausted, anxious, and unmotivated. They look everywhere except down at the glowing rectangle in their hands. The screen is the perfect escape from reality. It demands nothing of you, and it promises everything. But the dopamine hijack is a zero-sum game. Every hour you spend absorbed in the artificial world is an hour stolen from the real one. The anxiety you feel isn't a mystery. It is your brain's natural response to being overwhelmed by artificial signals while being starved of genuine human connection. The exhaustion isn't physical. It is the result of a reward system that has been completely burned out by algorithms designed to keep you trapped. You can reclaim your brain. But it starts by recognizing the screen for what it actually is. It is not a window to the world. It is a mirror reflecting your own hijacked psychology back at you. The device gives you infinite connection, but it leaves you entirely alone.